Guys, we are going to take a quick look at this knife because it's, well, how do I say this? I love it, but, well, let's just leave it at that. I will tell you about it when we turn this around and take a look at it from above. But first, you guys turn down the volume because here comes a little bit of music. All right, guys, let's take a look at this Miguron. Now, this is the, oh, hang on a second. I can't remember what it is. Miguron Knives, Koraki. Now, this is one of their higher end models. I do not have a price point on this because, as you guys know, first day in pockets, first day carry, I do this blind. So I have not looked up any other reviews or anything on this. I put this in my pocket yesterday because it's currently 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning here on a Friday. So I carried this all day yesterday. It was the first day. And I got to say, while this is an incredibly attractive knife, I'm a little conflicted about how I feel about it. Looking at it, it's beautiful. Nice titanium scales with some diamond checkering that obviously was milled really well. You've got, you know, you can see how clean they did their milling on this. You can still see all the milling pattern. And I like that. I like the look of that. It gives it a really cool look. Custom pivot that's all etched and marked, probably laser engraved. Nice pocket clip, sculpted pocket clip. In hand, that pocket clip is no problem. Nice little finger choil area like this. And then you get into what is the showpiece of this, which is this beautifully done S90V compound ground blade. Now, compound grinds are a thing of the past. They originally were done opposite of this, where you had a thinner area here and a thicker area here, and it was used for things, for piercing armor and things like that. You can actually get Japanese swords that the forward part is thicker. They call it niku. It's extra meat. It gives it a little bit of forward weight, and it gives it some piercing power for armor. But these days, these knives are done just as a complete aesthetic thing. So you get all these facets on the blade, additional facets because it's compound grind, and it's an S90V, which is one of my favorite steels. You have a double satin. So this is your grinder satin, and then a satin on the flats, and then this little cutout area swedge that gives you that look where it thickens up and it comes down almost harpoon style. The action on this is great. Now, I will say the only issue I've really got with this as far as deployment, I don't like top flippers, front flippers. Now, this one's not bad. It does give it a very clean look. There's no flipper tab to deal with. This could have gone into a top flipper compilation video. It still may. But, you know, the deployment on it is great. The action on it is just shy of fall shy. Just with the littlest bit of convincing, it'll just shake down and then drop in. The feel in hand, it feels great in hand. That pocket clip all but disappears. It's not heavy. It's got just about a perfect balance. I wish it had a little bit of more weight forward. I think they could have done that maybe if they had not done the compound grind. I think if this compound grind wasn't done, I think maybe that would just be a little bit extra forward to bring that center of gravity forward a little bit. But all in all, it is attractive. The action on it's great. There is no issue with like hot spots because of jimping, because you lose that flipper tab the second you deploy it. Now, let's talk about a couple things that are kind of problematic. It is a front flipper only. I wish that this had, here, let's look at this. You see how the Bellamy is a top flipper? The Bellamy is a top flipper. This is that, we saw this a few days ago. This is that Vosteed Knives Bellamy, another really attractive knife. But it's not just a top flipper. Does it do a really good job as a top flipper? Yeah, it does. It's a liner. And that's where the problem is. And we're gonna, it's a liner lock. and it's a front flipper, but it also has a flipper tab that almost completely goes away. So you're not really losing anything. You have that available if you're like me and you don't like front flippers. That would be like, as much as this knife is attractive, I think that I would shy away from this with only having a front flipper. This thing, the action on this is popping, bang. I guess it is. I was gonna say not Neve's knives, but it is Neve's knife. So on this one, the issue I have with it is I don't dislike a front flipper or top flipper if it's in a liner lock, but this is in a frame lock. So that means as I'm holding this, I'm putting pressure on this. It doesn't really do too badly. I haven't had it where I can't get it to deploy. Even if I am on here, it's not. But what I'm saying is historically, I'm not a fan of that. It's just not something that's in my wheelhouse when it comes to knives I like. I imagine that I could get used to it, but it's one of those things where I've carried so many knives that are exactly the way I want them for so long that I think that that might play, and I cannot do the front flip on this. This one's not horrible, but I've gotten so accustomed to flipper knives with an actual back flipper that at this point, it's like when I use a compression lock. I'm so used to liner and frame locks that when I have a compression lock, I wind up like looking for the release. So that's one issue. Another issue is they did not do a great job here of smoothing this down. This is really here. Let me zoom you in a little bit. This is really pretty sharp right there. I said the same thing about that Vero design. Now this isn't as bad as the Vero, but it does have a relatively hot spot there. If you're like, I've got calloused hands and stuff like that. My hands are pretty tough from years of doing manual labor. That might bother some people. I don't find it horrible, but it is sharp. It's not as clean and smooth as some other knives. And that's one of the things that I'm starting to recognize about myself is I really like liner locks because you don't wind up with any additional discomfort. This knife here, one of the things that they did, if you look, that's all sculpted. There is no real hot spot. That could qualify, I guess, a little bit, but it's not as bad because it's all been chamfered. They did not do that on this. And I understand why, because when you've got the knife, it detracts from the lines. It's got a really clean look, but that could have been done. Like I said, S90V, one of my favorite steels. So let's talk about a couple little things. The deployment, like I said, not necessarily a showstopper on this one. While this is attractive, it's pretty comfortable, but it kind of feels like, it almost feels like it's at an angle too far back. Like if that had not been brought back as far back, maybe you would have like more of a natural handhold, because it feels really good when you put your finger that way, but it doesn't feel quite as good in the natural grip. So that's one of the things. The other thing that really bothered me is I haven't looked up price, but I guarantee this is a much more expensive knife than the Miguron Valona. And if you look, that is a pretty asymmetrical tip on that knife. I don't know how well you can see it. Let's zoom in. This is something a lot of people are like, whoa, it's not a big deal. It's not, but the fact is, it does bother me. And I would have to take the time to rectify that. And as you guys can see, I've used this. I used it yesterday. I was cutting up some cardboard, opening packages and stuff like that. But that asymmetrical tip does bother me. And a lot of that comes from, let's see if I can get it here. There's the end of that grind. Let me see, get my thumbnail right on it, versus the end of that side, which comes way further forward. Can you see? Like I'm on the end of that. That kind of comes a good bit further forward, I believe. That swedge. Oh, let's see. Is it the swedge that's doing it? I'm trying to get it in a line. But you can see that this swedge is absolutely ground farther than this one, which adds to that. Is it such a big deal? No. But when you're paying a lot for a knife, you kind of want that. And then I haven't done this yet, but I don't know if this is keyed. I haven't taken this knife apart, but the logo's off center. So if it's just a matter of that this goes in willy-nilly, it's not a keyed pivot, then that won't be such a big issue. But the final thing I have noticed about this knife, and this is the big one, while the pocket clip is extremely comfortable, look at how close that is to the lock bar cutout here for for you to bend it and get your spring tension. It's right on it. As a matter of fact, can I zoom in on it? It over touches it. So what I've noticed is that in and out of pocket, not only is this checkering attractive and it is grippy, it catches material. So that one little point is the only thing that's touching right there, that one itty bitty little point. Material gets caught in here, and then the material in between here catches, and it's not real smooth in and out of pocket. The tension on this lock bar, I believe, is a little tighter than I would want. And it looks as though this has been adjusted. There's a high spot in there. It might have been a little weak and then Jared overcompensated. I don't know. I would have to ask him. But the pocket clip is a little tight and it's a little bit difficult to deploy in and out of pockets. But overall, first day in pockets so far, yesterday, carrying it all day, I didn't really have any issues with it. I like this knife. It is attractive, but I will say that the budget Valona actually did, in my opinion, was better. The action was smoother. The action was freer. It was definitely drop shut, guillotine style drop shut. And the blade was a better grind and more consistent. So I'm conflicted because I'm telling you that I know this is way more expensive. I guarantee, in my opinion, I'm looking at probably at least, well, I don't want to say that because I thought that the Valona was probably $150 and it was $50. I'm going to say this is at least a $150 knife, if not way more than that. And there's just so many things they did better in the budget one than they did in this expensive one. Does it look way better? Does it have a lot more flash and pop? Absolutely. But I just think that the Valona overall, for me, is a better knife. So, all right, guys. That was just the first impressions, first day of carry. I just wanted to get this done. I do like this knife. I hope you guys don't think I'm bagging on it. It's going to be one of the ones that just, it kind of, like, it's aesthetically pleasing enough that I can overlook some of the issues. So there you go, guys. Let's turn this around, do some final thoughts, and get you guys on out of here. So like I said, guys, there is so much to love about this knife at first blush, because this is first impressions, like I said. But there's just some things that I swear to God that the cheaper one did better. But guys, you know, that's it on this one. If you like the videos, give them a thumbs up. If you don't like them, give them a thumbs down. But please try to tell me why. I can't change the content if you don't tell me what you don't like. If you want to support the channel, it's as simple as like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell icon. Make sure you get notified, but make sure you have notifications turned on your devices, or that bell icon will do nothing for you. If you want to support the channel financially, though, to everyone that does, I appreciate it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. But there are a handful of ways down in the description below. I have a membership that gets you in on a bunch of different benefits. It's done by tier. Pick the tier that suits you best and gets you what you're looking for. But everyone saves $5 on my sharpening service, and everyone has access to my gilded server where we chat and just BS, and we do stuff like Saturday movie days when I have time and stuff like that. Other ways you can do it, I have affiliate links down below where you can find links to a lot of the stuff that you see on the channel. I've built a recommended EDC section. I've got recommended tools, recommended sharpening stones, all of that stuff. Anything you purchase, it doesn't cost you anything extra at checkout. I just get a little bit at checkout from the companies for bringing it to you. And the final way is I have a merchandise store at Ember Shirt Co. I have set up a coupon code that works anywhere on Ember Shirt Co. And that coupon code is CrazySharp, all one word, capital C, capital S, CrazySharp, saves you 10% at checkout. And if you send me pictures of you wearing my merchandise, I will put them in a video. Guys, I love you all. Keep it clean in the comments section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I will see you in the next video.